Hi guys, Bob here from the Guitar Show again, once again without Ramon while we're still in lockdown. I'm going to do a show today about my semis, Gibson ES guitars, thin line guitars. I've got 5 to show you. I really love them. I'm doing this partly because it was on my plan to do this next, but also one of you responded, a guy called James Beckett, very kindly responded after my last show about the 58 Sunburst Les Paul, and he asked if we could do a show on ESs, and I thought, well, that's great because I plan to do one anyway, so thank you, James. And also thank you everybody who's responded, everybody who's watched. There's about 6,000 of you, and everybody who's responded, because you probably got from the tone in my voice in the last video that I was a little bit nervous about talking the way I did about my very valuable 58 Burst. I shouldn't have worried. The supportive nature of your messages was unbelievably great, really fantastic. Thank you. I mean, lots of comments about, the content that I was talking about, how I present it. I couldn't play that time because I had a damaged finger. That's almost mended. So I just want to say thank you. Now, enough of the pleasantries. Oh, there was one other thing. Somebody did really amuse me in their comment because they picked up on the fact that I've got this English upper middle class accent, which is a function of my parents and my private schooling. And somebody said it's a bit like Lord Grantham of Downton Abbey presenting a guitar show. So I thought, well, this is great. So I thought I might play up the Lord Grantham bit a bit with my trusty butler, obviously Mr. Goose, and actually even introduce a new thread, which is the downtone sessions. So this is your ersatz Lord Grantham from Downtone Sessions, aka the Guitar Show, speaking to you. So I'm gripping here a 1960 Gibson ES-330T. The shape and style of the guitar is an ES-330, introduced in 1959. T stands for thin line. It's not really very useful because they're all thin line, there are no fat line ones. N is for natural, and you'll see some other designations in a minute. And it's missing the letter D. This would normally be a TDN, which means that it had 2 pickups. But this is the single pickup variety with just 2 knobs, volume and tone. I've got 3 of these, which I'm going to show you. And the reason I've got so many, because I don't collect guitars, multiples of guitars, is because these are my favourite guitars of all. Despite the fact they live in the house with some really amazing company, these are my favourite guitars. They're very light. They're very comfortable because the neck joins the body 2 frets further in than it does on, say, a 335, so they're slightly shorter. They sound fantastic acoustically. They're hollow, they don't have a block in the centres, they sound wonderful acoustically. And these ones from 60, 61, 62 have got the characteristic quite wide, quite flat, quite thin, but still meaty neck, mahogany neck of the time, which is a fantastic neck. And the combination of this dot neck and the body and everything just makes it a very, very, very playable guitar indeed. So this is the 60 330TDN. I'll show you the back as well. You can't probably see it from there, but it's got quite a lot of little kind of bird's eye flex and action going on in the maple here. It's yellowed beautifully over its 60 years, and there's a little bit of finish checking in the surface, mainly in this direction, but overall it's in pretty good shape. The neck is very, very clean indeed. Everything about it's original, clues and tuners, single P90 pickup, tune-o-matic bridge. Interestingly, some of these guitars had not only one set of finger wheels under the bridge, but also another set of finger wheels flat against the body to help the screws not sink into the body so much. From my experience, it's entirely hit or miss as to whether you get these on a guitar or not. This one has them, some guitars don't. And Gibson's regular trapeze tailpiece from the time. Anyway, that's the first one. That's a 60 ES-330TN. Okay, jumping around a little bit here, I'm actually going to do the remainder of the guitars in chronological order. So I'm going to start with this one. This is the guitar that came before the thin line ES series. This is an ES-225, T again for thin line, N for natural, but no D because it's a single pickup again. You'll see I really like these single pickup guitars, and one of the reasons I like them is because of the position of the pickup. My experience of 330s particularly, and these 225s as well, is that the pickup in this position can sound very dark and muddy, and the pickup in this position, it's bright enough, but it can also be very thin. The middle position, for the way I play and the music I want to play, is a fantastic compromise. There are also some issues. If you talk to the Les Paul guys, you'll see that people often prefer juniors to specials just because you've got the single pickup and effective direct coupling to the jack. I'm not an electronics expert, but listening to those instruments tends to tell me that it's true. So I like single pickup guitars for that reason. Some people don't like pickups here because it gets in the way of their picking hand, to which I say, well, first of all, as you've seen, I mainly play with my fingers. It doesn't really get in the way. But secondly, if you do play with a pick, it is the easiest thing in the world to move your pick half an inch in either direction and miss the pickup. And in my opinion, the tone you get from these guitars makes it worth it. This is the guitar that came before the 330. It was in circulation for most of the 1950s. It was discontinued in about 1961, I think, by which time they'd made a few changes to this. This is the only guitar that Gibson made that has this kind of bridge. The nearest things are 52 Les Paul, where the thing's upside down, and that wasn't a great success. This bridge is a combination tailpiece and wraparound. It's a very clever thing. It's quite heavy, quite over-engineered, a bit like a Gretsch. I find that I can get really good intonation out of it, so no need to change it there. I found this, I was grazing eBay just before going out and getting myself a sandwich at my desk at lunch one day. And I was messing around on eBay and I found this, and I looked at it and thought, wow, that's fantastic. And I just pitched in an offer just before the auction closed, went out and got a sandwich, almost forgot about it, and came back to my desk and I had a little bing, it told me I'd won the auction. It came from the mountains about 200 miles inland from Sydney, where the guy had owned it for many, many years. When it arrived, complete with its case, I opened it up and looked at it and my heart sank because I thought, oh my God, it's a fake. Because it was so clean. It is, effectively, it's brand new. There's not a mark on it. The wood is fairly plain, it's not very figured, but I mean, there's no belt buckle rash, there's no scratches, nothing. It's absolutely immaculate. And the other thing about this guitar is, the only way I can describe it is the pickup. It's a single pickup, but it sounds slightly like the middle position of a two pickup guitar. It's got that slight glint and reediness to it, which you can't hear while I've got a bit of drive on, but and it's not quite in tune. But this is effectively the precursor to the ES series that I'm going to go on and talk about now. Again, this is a 56 or 57, I think it's 57, ES-225TN. Okay, moving on, the big guns out now. This is a 1959 ES-335TD. This guitar was introduced by Gibson. It was the first of the ES thin lines, introduced in 1958. And the first lot, rather like Les Paul's, they got it a bit wrong. They got the neck angle too shallow, which meant that if you look at it side on, to get a decent action, you had to have the bridge and the stop tailpiece right down onto the body, and even then it wasn't enough. So people had to actually grind away at the bottom of these two to get them flat enough on the body to get a decent action. That was for the first ones in 1958. By later 58 and 59 they've got it right. 59 on 335s is rather like 59 on Les Paul's. It is the time to have a guitar from. All the appointments are fantastic. You've got a pair of paffs here, you've got a zebra and a double white in here. All the electronics, everything original. I'd wanted one of these for a long time. Most of my collector friends have got one from 59 or 60, and there's some very good examples. None of them wanted to sell to me. One of them was travelling out to the States, and he was going to do the whole, you know, Californian guitar shop trip, and he went to Norman's Rare Guitars and phoned me up, and he said, "I've found your guitar. It's absolutely perfect. It's beautiful. It's expensive, but it's exactly what you're looking for." So I phoned Norman Harris. Very charming. I'd never spoken to him before. I got his book, obviously know exactly who he is, never spoken to him before. He was very, very charming. Talked the guitar through with him, haggled over a few bucks, but really it didn't make any difference. The guitar was expensive, no doubt. I paid top dollar for this. Guitar was shipped over. It arrived at a friend's place while I was actually away on a vacation. And my friend phoned me up and said, "Your parcel's arrived." I asked and said, "Well, have you looked at it?" "No." "Well, open it, please," because he was one of the ones, he's the guy who owns another 59. And he phoned me back on this little island in the Indian Ocean. And all I heard down the phone was, "Ooh." He said, "You are going to love this guitar. It is absolutely perfect." And it is. It's virtually mint condition, 59 ES-335. There are two 335s in my opinion really worth having. One is the 59, quite a chunky neck, fantastic tone. The other is the 63-64 that Clapton made famous. In my experience, the 63-64s are slightly fatter sounding. Could be the pickups, could be quite big necks. Slightly fatter, and Clapton got that incredible dense sound. These are slightly subtler, but still, it's you know, it's a great guitar. You can do all that kind of blues breakery type stuff. It's a wonderful guitar to play. It's a wonderful guitar to gig. Though obviously with a guitar like this, I'm very careful indeed when I gig it, because you just hit it against the cymbals and that's damage. But as I say, pretty good example, in fact one of the best examples I've ever seen of a 1959 Gibson ES-335, and obviously second to my Les Paul, my most valuable guitar, and it gets treated like royalty. Okay, back again with a 1961 ES-330T C for cherry, but missing the D again because it's a single pickup, 2-knob guitar. The knobs have changed from top hats to reflectors, which happened in 1961, and obviously because it's a cherry guitar, the knobs are black rather than gold. Again, wide, quite skinny dot neck, wonderful to play. This guitar holds a particular pride of place in my collection, my arsenal. This is my favourite guitar of all. Cost me £1,200. Not very long ago, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. I actually had a 1965 330 in T-burst with chrome-plated pickups. Looked $1 million. Didn't really play very well. Didn't really sound very great. Didn't really have a great neck profile. Didn't really like it very much. I had it for a long time, but sold it. Missed having a 330 and asked the guy who found my Les Paul if he could find me a 330, and he said, "I've got one. It's not particularly special. Yeah, pretty ordinary guitar, but you know, it's not very expensive either." And he brought it round, and I fell in love with it. And this is my favourite guitar of all. Of all my guitars, this is the one that actually plays me the most. There's something about it. When I pick it up and play it, it's very difficult to describe. Very difficult to describe because you know, I'm surrounded by lovely guitars, but something about the spring and the responsiveness under the fingers. Again, nice acoustic ringer, great for noodling in front of the telly. The only damage to the guitar is that the previous owner, some previous owner, used one of those string winders on it and really graunched up the sides of the headstock. I mean, not really badly, but you can see the marks, and that's kind of irritating. And the neck's seen a little more wear. It's got one small ding in it here. The neck's seen a bit of wear, and also there's a bit of sweat has got in here because the neck's a bit mottled on the back, kind of faded from a reddish colour into a brown. But overall, as you can see, it's in pretty good shape. Again, no scratches, no marks, all the rest of it. Light as a feather. And as I say, probably my favourite guitar of all. This is the guitar I tend to go to the most. It's always out, always a hand, an arm's length away wherever I am. It's a fantastic guitar. So that's number 4. Hi, back with the 5th and final guitar in this short show. Yet another single pickup ES-330, you might say, only there's a couple of things just not quite right about it. The first and most obvious thing is that both here on the pickguard, which is a tortoiseshell pickguard, not a layered black and white pickguard, and up here you've got the name Epiphone. And you've also got a very subtly different tailpiece. So this is an Epiphone 230T, which is the Epiphone designation for a 330. You probably know that by the early 60s, Gibson had acquired the Epiphone company, and they'd incorporated the name and used the name on a bunch of guitars that were made on the Gibson production line. So this is effectively a 330, but slightly different because the headstock is different. It's not repurposed, so the headstock shape is different. This is actually slightly wider. Everything else feels exactly like the Gibsons I've just shown you. Double thumb wheels, single P90, different pickguard, 2 knobs, reflector knobs because this is a 61. This subtly different tailpiece as well. So it's its own man, but it's identical to a 330, and it's identical in terms of neck profile and to play as well. Being a 62, this is a tiny bit thicker than the 2 I've shown you before. And I would say of the 3, this is probably the weakest of the 3 P90 pickups. So this guitar's better for strumming and jangling than it is for downright dig-in blues playing, but it's still a great guitar. And it's still got the same unplugged response and so on. The thing that makes this guitar, again, this is rather like the 225 I showed you. This was another grazing eBay just before a lunchtime sandwich, not really paying attention, coming across this and thinking, I owned the red one and the blonde one already, and thinking, God, I'd really like a Sunburst to make the set. And when I saw this, I thought this is even better, because this is a Sunburst 330, but with a different brand. What intrigued me is that it has the older Epiphone metal plate, what's called a bikini logo, because it's kind of the shape of a bikini. These were phased out before the first of these Epiphone 230s, or casinos, as they were known, before they were actually launched. The catalogue of April 1962 shows the pearl inlay. I reckon there's only one production batch of bikini 230s in existence. That would number about 3 dozen guitars, and that would comprise double and single pickup guitars. The single pickup guitars were less common, so I would suggest that there's about a dozen of these in existence. Anyway, it's a very, very rare guitar. Bit geeky. It's not worth very much money because of those features. It's a bit of a geeky kind of rareness, but it is quite a nice guitar to have, and it's a bit more interesting than having the Gibson equivalent, which is what I kind of set out to buy. Again, this wasn't very expensive. I bought it from a place in Philadelphia that seemed all their other guitars were pointy and 7-stringed. So my guess is that Grandad took his grandson into this place to buy him a shred guitar one day, and he took his old guitar from the 60s in and part exchanged it. Probably didn't get very much money for it, because the price I paid for this, with the dealer's markup, still wasn't a lot of money. Now, that was back in the day when nobody looked at these single pickup guitars. Now people are beginning to realise that actually they're rather good. Every player I have round to my place, give them these, they'll go, oh no, single pickup, oh no, it's in the wrong place, gets in the way of my pick. Leave them on the guitar for 5 minutes and they come back and they go, wow, these guitars have got tone. So there's something in it. I think these are, I don't buy guitars as investments to make money out of, but if you're looking at it like that, I reckon these are, well, they were serious sleepers. They're going up in value now, but they were serious sleepers. Anyway, that is the 5th and final guitar in this little expose, which is my 1961, late 61 Epiphone ES-230T, a very, very early casino. So, I wanted to keep this video dense with guitars but also pretty short. I didn't want to bang on too much in my Lord Grantham style. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do please keep the comments coming. Let us know if there's anything else that you'd like us to put up. I've got various different ideas for other kind of lockdown videos, though. Although I've got a lovely collection, I haven't got that many guitars. I'm burning through them at a fairly rapid rate. But I might do the story of my 61 gold Shoreline Stratocaster next, because that's a little interesting tale and it's a hell of a guitar in its own right. But let me know what you think of this video, what you'd like to see, and in the meantime, stay safe and stay sane during lockdown. Bye bye.